Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist, you want to go faster? Then let's giddy up. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. So we like racing on the weekend. Yesterday, a time trial of 40 kilometers, which I got the fastest time for. I'll tell you a couple of things I learnt. A new little feature on Strava, which isn't a new feature, but I like using, and it's kind of become more relevant lately with some updates to tech that people have now. It's getting better to use all the time. I'll tell you about that. And I'll tell you about next weekend's race, which is a biggie. A big, hard one. So, if you're looking at the screen, oh, by the way, I hope this is a bit better audio than before. Not hugely, but I'm just doing this active recovery session on my Tax Neo trainer, direct drive trainer, which has replaced the old magnetic trainer I had. It's a lot quieter, so I hope that helps a bit. So if you're looking at the screen, you can see a picture there taken by the wonderful Trina Iono. Thank you for coming out and taking photos of me in position. I'm not really that happy with how the back of the helmet relates to my back. It sort of looks like, ideally, my head would be kind of not, my chin wouldn't be up or down, it would just be like vertically down a little bit, and so that the back of the helmet would be in better line. My drag for this ride came out to around 0.238, which is pretty normal for me, but I would expect a touch better because of the disc wear. The last time I tested wasn't with the disc, but that's okay. It was a very strong side wind, so it's a bit hard to get accurate data for it. So position was okay. Not a lot of change to power or the position. So let's have a look at data from yesterday. We had 40 kilometre time trial course out in Kahutra there. It's if you haven't ridden it, it's a really good, there is a couple of little hills, just relatively small rollers, but a lot of the course, especially the southern part, you can get a really good rhythm on. It's pretty flat, it's pretty wide. It's a good high power rider's course. So it kind of suits a guy like me. I came in with a time of 55:54 or so for the course, which is my third best time on this course. My best is the club course record of about 1 minute faster than that. As I say, the main difference was caused by the medium strength crosswind. Yesterday it wasn't gusty. It seems to be when you don't have gusts, it's much easier to control, even with a disc. So climbing of 117 meters, so you can see there's one climb where you want to just go to your VO2 max about 10 minutes into it, and another near the start finish, very similar length. Head it up to your VO2 and then settle, maybe have a little recovery for 20 seconds after that. Soft pedaling a little bit, reduce your power battery by 100 watts, and then bring your power up over another 10 seconds or so to full flat FTP. Works pretty well. Average speed of 42.8 kilometers an hour, average power 321 watts, average heart rate 166, about 5 to 6 higher than I have done on this course before, and my PE was a little bit up as well. My fitness is probably coming down a little bit. It's alright, it's relatively late in the season for me. Cadence of 85 right in the sweet spot for TT for me. An EP of 323, the EP in the normalized power and the regular power is pretty close because it's a very controlled effort. If I come down here, all right, TT, what are we looking for? We are looking for to speed and in position within 30 seconds or less. Ideally maybe 20, and you can see the green line here, speed, the red line power, up to speed in about 20 seconds. But I did notice, I kind of noticed this at the time, for another minute or so, my power was too high, and only by a little bit. For a minute after the start, I averaged about over 400 watts, which is too much. The power target I'm going for was 330, and just starting out, about 70 watts too high there for a minute, already made me burn some matches. And I did notice that in the PE of the ride. So if there's one thing to take away about that, it's, no matter, even if you feel like it's almost like soft pedaling, know your power targets and ride to it. It will give you a better time overall. You will fatigue less, and it's really hard because in that first couple of minutes, you're so fresh that you feel you can pedal a huge power, and it's not helpful for your time. So that's number one. Number two and number three rule about time trials, really. Right, so the power delivery from here is pretty steady. The turns were okay. Turns are good. This piece I was talking about where you come, this is the biggest climb on the course. And if I zoom in here, if you're watching this, you can see that I go from averaging about 316 watts for the minute or so prior, hit the climb, and for about 40 seconds of the climb, 348 watts. So not a hell of a lot more, but the way it works out is into a headwind or on a little climb, even if it's small, it will improve your time, putting out a little more power, and then bringing down your power immediately after. So just over 300 watts there for the next 30 seconds or so, and then bring it slowly back up to normal power. So that's good. That's pretty much the way I want to hit those hills. I couldn't hit it as hard as I want because I burned too many matches in that first minute that I was talking about. So you can see it lasts, if you go a little too hard, first minute or 2 minutes, that keeps affecting you in a time trial 10 minutes later. It's insane how there's nowhere to go. If you could have, time trials about a sustained effort. So if you did have some form of rest, even if it was only 30 seconds, that piece at the start wouldn't be so important. But because in a time trial you don't really, that's why it keeps affecting you. So coming into the final, put up the power on the last climb, and into the finish. So it's good, well paced. It is actually my best power for this course by about 5 or 10 watts, which is good, all measured on the same device and everything. I think one thing maybe helped, everything about the bike's the same, except I did change my extensions. So the extensions are the pieces you hold on to, your hands out in front of you in the time trial position, and I got a much more aggressively curved set so that my hands, more specifically the top vertical horizontal plane of the bars, so where the shifter is up at the end, is the maximum vertical distance between that and the elbow pad, namely 10 centimeters. That's the UCI mandated maximum distance. Why do that? Well, two reasons. One is for aerodynamics. It seems to be that it routes the air better around your torso by having your hands out in front of you like that. A little bit different to how the guys used to try to get super low. Testing says that actually, depending on how you've got it set up, probably having your hands higher is going to be faster. And also, there's a nice secondary benefit. For most people, you'll be able to hold better power with your hands up higher in front of you. So why? It just seems to be like with your hands in this unflexed position. You can imagine if you've got your hands out in front of you, your wrists are flexed forward. because you have a straighter, less angled extension setup. That takes energy in itself, but it's also a little bit less easy to control. Like it feels less stable. When you feel more stable, you can relax your arms more and you feel like you can push a little harder. That's certainly been the case for me since I changed the setup. I really like it. And that is borne out in the extra 10 watts or so I got for this TT. So yeah, so you might say, well, if your aero is probably a little better, even the same as it was before, but your power is up 10 watts, well, why is your time a minute slower than your best? And that's just because quite a, as I say, that crosswind wasn't really a problem because it wasn't gusty, didn't knock you around, but it does provide more drag. And that's the only reason. So a good day out. So I'm going to show you something here. This I think is a cool little feature. Strava. If you haven't seen this, you can go into the segment of the course that you just rode. This is a really good thing to do, especially for time trials. Okay, so let's say you're in a time trial. Well, this will mean, this feature I'm going to show you, will mean you don't have to wait for the results to be published by the people running the race. You can see the results come up in front of you real time using the data people get in their computers. Pretty cool. I'll show you how to do it if you don't already know. Just as a background, so these days most of the modern computers that people use on their bike, I use a Garmin 520, have a feature where the Bluetooth communicates with your phone. If you have Garmin Connect, or might just need Strava set up on your phone. You may need both, check it out, I can't remember. I think it's you need Garmin Connect and Strava on your phone. The rides will automatically upload immediately. So if you've got your phone in your back pocket, you come to the end of your ride, you hit stop and you hit save ride. It takes about 10 seconds for that ride to be uploaded through your phone and onto Strava. Even if you've got your Garmin and you stop the ride and you save the ride, as soon as you come back into your phone range, when you come back near your car or something like that, it'll upload automatically for you too, if the settings are right. So that means that it's as close to real time as you can have. So what you need is a segment in Strava, which is the course. This one here is called Kahutra 40 kilometer TT course. The course I did yesterday, if you're looking at the screen. And what you need to do is go down to the full leaderboard, and then the filter, select today, if it's the day of the race, or say something like this month, so that you can see all the best efforts and it comes up with the dates. And if it's a TT on that course and you select this month or something, it's almost certainly going to be that all the times on there, all the best times are going to be from the race that day. In blue, you can see the date. So this is a list, if you're looking, of all of the times from yesterday. It's even pretty neat now. So many more people have power meters that you can see if the power figure has a little lightning bolt next to it. That means that it's power from a power meter. If it doesn't have a lightning bolt like this, that means that it's estimated Strava power, which is pretty useless. That's using a pretty simple algorithm based on weight and speed and stuff like that. There's no way for it to take into account true aerodynamics, or more importantly, speed, wind speed, direction. But you can see here a lot of people have power now too. So there is a lot of data stalking to do in here. Anyway, so what you can do is finish your ride. I was the first rider to finish yesterday. So I can rock back to my car. I can bring up this segment. And as people finish and cross the line after me, I can see in real time, maybe they cross the line, they save the ride. Within about 30 seconds, you can see riders' times start to populate into the Strava there. You can see not only what time they did, of course their power and all of that. So I don't have the full results published from Wellington Masters yesterday yet, but I do have this. Now, of course, this only shows people who rode who do have a computer that uploads like this straight away. Luckily, that's a lot of people, and generally the better riders have all of this. And I know that all of the top riders listed here did do the best, had the best times yesterday. So even though I don't have the proper results, the results from the course data in Strava, segment in Strava, and that course is almost exactly the same. Yes, there will be, it will be different by about 10 metres at the start and 20 metres at the finish or something like that. So the times will be a few seconds out, but that won't change anything. Could change something if someone was only 1 second away. You might have to wait for official results. That is a preliminary result situation. This is pretty good. So let's have a look. I came through with an average speed of 42.9, 321 watts. Mike Proudfoot, so really good time trialist, sort of a unit built like me. And out of 281 watts, he's getting 42.2 kilometers an hour for a time of 55.46. So that's an indicator that he probably has really good aerodynamics. So I'd say his position's actually better than mine. Angus Taylor, good ride, coming in at 58.02, pumping 277 watts. So you can see, actually it's interesting, look at that, almost identical power, Angus versus Mike, 4 watts different, and a time for Angus about, whatever that is, 16 seconds slower or something. So they have probably identical aero drag, more or less. Hope Buke had a stunner of a ride, personal best for him on this course of 58.23. He was excited about it, and good for him. Good time. Steve Orchard, well-known time trialist, powerhouse, 293 watts, 59.06, also a personal best on that course. And working down the list, just sneaking right onto the hour, Andrew Kerr in exactly 1 hour, although his official time might take him a couple of seconds over, and Mike Stewart, look at that, 1 hour and 1 second, missing the hour by 1 second, maybe a few more seconds than that in the officials. So that is something you can use to check real-time results. All right, next race, Pack and Save Summer Series, event number 2, brought to you by PNP Cycling Club. Now, of all the courses, this is probably a good one to check out beforehand. I'll give you this skinny, which is on the Gran Fondo course. We've got 122 Ks, which is pretty long for an amateur club race. And it's not a flat course, so it's going to be a long day. 122 Ks will be averaging less than 40 K an hour. I'm sure of it. You're going to be looking at 3+ hours in the saddle, so you're going to need a way, if it's a hot day, of taking, maybe 3 hours, hang on, what am I talking about? Yeah, probably is, yeah, 3+ hours in the saddle. Taking, if you're an 80 kilo rider, 3 litres or so of water, which is a ton. A minimum of 3 750ml bottles, ideally a little more. If you don't, there's a good chance you'll cramp. You want to be able to take a gel every half hour, and for a ride this long, I'd even consider just in the halfway point, just maybe chucking down half a power bar or something. See if you're the sort of person that likes that or not. Stimulate that glycogen release response. But it's up to you. I just make sure it's amazing how, the difference between an 80 kilometer race and 120 sounds like it's just an hour, but people really start to break down. So that'll be my call on that. Going the course, we head out south. There are some small rollers. The biggest feature is the main hill that goes over towards the coast on the south. you want to be, it's not, we turn left off like Ferry Road, I think it is, and there's a climb immediately that you want to be very aware of and very up the front for. I don't think it's going to go nuts on there, probably because people will be pacing themselves a little for the big climb. So you go down over the big climb, down the downside of the big climb, over to the coast. There's a little hump somewhere before the turnaround. Coming back up the big climb, that is a pretty good climb. Medium grade, it's a good rhythm climb, but it will suit a good FTP climber. Powder weight, there's no doubt about it. Bigger units could suffer a little on this. If in any doubt, just hold on as long as you can. Guys, there will be some distraction on this climb from the top riders, top climbers like Brendan McGrath and Dave Rowlands. So if you can't stay with it, I wouldn't completely blow your load. Maybe reserve a little bit. Then in the final 40Ks, you will have a little gas in the tank for smaller groups to form, hopefully with you in one of them, and hold on over the rollers into the final, which is flat, wide and open for a big sprint. Couldn't expect big power numbers because guys will have tired legs after that. The Medio Fondo, the little version of this, is only 80 k's or so, and it turns around just after the summit of the easy side of the big hill. So it's 2/3 the length or whatever of the big race, except probably only half the difficulty. So, if you're, deciding what race to do, you're kind of in between. Maybe instead of deciding what you're capable of, decide based on what you see as an enjoyable racing experience. So if you're tossing up and you think that an enjoyable racing experience is actually not getting dropped, not being in danger of that, being able to make moves, being able to not be so challenged because you hate getting dropped, then go for the Medio Fondo. If you think that a good idea is to really see what you can do on what is a hard course and see who you really match up with as a decent climber, then go for the long one. Of course, there's more risk, but potentially more reward. So let's say about that. So if you go to, here's a little feature, if you go to the PNP website, pnp.org.nz, go to event number 2 or any of the events and click enter now. They use the web scorer system for their entries and results and stuff, which is a good system. I've used it a bunch before. Up the top right here on the page, you can actually see confirmation list, and you can see real time how many people have entered and in what grades, so you kind of know what you're up against. Now I'm recording this on Monday, the race is on Saturday, and as usual most people enter in like the 48 hours prior to the race, so there's only 28 participants so far. In fact, I'm one of the last to register in there. Who have we got that are big names? Anthony Norder, haven't seen, was he in the first one? Yeah, I think he was. I don't know what his legs are like, but he could be devastating on a course like this. We have got little climbers like Finn Sherlock, John Caron, he's entered the Grand, that's good. Good climber, will suit this course. Liam Sherlock, Bailey's racing team, with his brother, will be excellent on this course. Mike Naylor, again, skinny unit, will be good. There will no doubt be some other bigger names enter, and you can check that right up to the day, I think, to see who's entered. See who you're up against, and maybe that will inform you a little bit as well about what course you enter. If you think you're just going to get punished and you don't feel like a piece of that, yeah, maybe hit out the Medio and have a slightly more enjoyable day rather than gagging on your stem all afternoon. So I'd say about that. Although looking at the numbers, a lot of people going in for the Grand. It's good to see. I always say to my riders, if you're in doubt, do the harder version of anything, because as long as you can get around disappointment if you don't do that well, if it's hard, you always learn more, and you always really have a greater sense of accomplishment doing the harder thing. That's what I'd say about PNP Race 5. There's all the thoughts I've got. Oh, I didn't really mention, no, I'll just quickly mention. Oh, two things. Okay, that course that I just was talking about, as it is coming down the long descent to the coast, the last time I rode this about 6 months ago, the road was quite choppy in places. It's actually dangerous because it's quite good. The tar seal is pretty good in most of it, but because of the way the earth moves and stuff there, a lot of earth movement and weather, you do get these big chunky sort of folds and potholes and stuff. Just be really careful of that. Another thing that just occurred to me is I never really did a review of the first round results from the first round one of the PNP. That was a much flatter course, and that's probably going to be the easiest course of the series. There was a unfortunate sort of series of gravel chunks out of the road in the final 5Ks or 10Ks. One crash and a couple of punctures. Mostly pretty good. Dave Rowland's setting up a really nice attack down the side. The final 5Ks to stay away with Brendan McGrath and a couple of other riders. Dave taking the win from Brendan overall, and I came in sort of near the front of the rest to win my age grade and, I don't know, come in 5th or something overall. So a good start to the series for me, good start to the series for those guys. Some aggressive racing, lots of attacks, lots of what's going down. Really enjoyable so far, so thank you to the PNP Club for putting on those events. Right, so I'll leave it there. As always, it's brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you would like a coaching plan or testing from me, go to fitlab.co.nz. Send me an email, steve@fitlab.co.nz. I'll see you on the weekend.